In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and all things came into being through him. And without him, not one thing came into being. The Christmas gift that I was most excited to give to my husband, Grant, was a Lego set of Notre Dame Cathedral. Now understand that neither one of us are in the Lego club. I don't think I've had a Lego since I was a kid. But we're taking a vacation to Paris in the spring, and we're both excited about visiting Notre Dame. So after I found out that there was a Lego version, it seemed like the perfect gift. And Grant appreciated the gift, but he's not putting it together. Because as he says, I don't like puzzles. And Lego is, if nothing else, like a puzzle. But on Christmas afternoon, we got together in the kitchen and we opened the box and we pulled out the carefully organized plastic bags of tiny pieces, 34 different bags of Lego. They poured out onto our kitchen island bags full of countless bricks, each with a particular shape and purpose. I know. I looked at the pile and I took courage when I saw that there was an instruction book with the set. But I was surprised that the instructions for Lego are minimal, with very little text. Just a series of illustrations showing how each Lego brick fits together. I remember thinking, well, maybe I missed something. So I looked back in the box. Clearly, there was something I'd missed. There must have been some platform onto which to build the cathedral, some more detailed instruction sheet, but no. Everything, even the base, is made of individual Lego bricks attached one to another according to a diagram that initially seemed more cryptic than IKEA furniture instructions. I opened the first bag, and the pieces poured out onto the counter in a scattered jumble. How do I start working on this thing? I asked. And Grant said, Terry, our friend who does jigsaw puzzles, always groups similar pieces. I looked back at the instruction book and I divided the bricks into matching sets of Lego. Then I began. One brick attached to a second brick, attached to a third brick, and so on. Now, I appreciate instructions as much as the next guy, but I also tend to be a kind of making things up as I go kind of a person, which doesn't work with Lego. I discovered that only by following the instructions precisely, step by step, could I coax the majestic building out of a random set of bricks. If I stopped paying attention to the instructions and just tried to make things up, it wouldn't work. If I mixed up the small brick with 2 holes from the small brick with 1 hole or 3 holes, it wouldn't work. Every detail mattered. If I didn't follow the instructions, I'd have to detach the bricks and start over. But as I started looking carefully at the instructions, I noticed that the parts fit together meaningfully. I noticed that there was a logic to the instructions that defied my understanding of common sense. The whole thing fits together because there is a plan, a word, a logos. Or as the author of John's Gospel says, in the beginning was the Word. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. The Word, the logos, or as Richard Rohr calls it, the blueprint, was in the beginning. The blueprint was there from the start, and through it, everything was made. Like my Lego cathedral, every piece that exists fits together because of the logos. Nothing came into being without it. John's gospel tells us that a divine word speaks all of creation into existence, from the tiniest particle to the broad expanse of galaxies, and they all fit together. And I recognize that this is hard to accept. Life is full of what seem like random, meaningless events. Yet behind this apparent randomness is not just a blueprint, but a face, a person. So if you seek the meaning of creation in the midst of the randomness of life, look to the one who was born in Bethlehem's manger. Because there you'll see the Word made flesh that reveals the purpose of creation. And I know sometimes we just see shadows and not light. And we live in a world where shadows and light intermingle, where giving up on meaning can feel like a reasonable stance. But remember the tiny human in the manger who reveals God to us. From the manger, we find our meaning and we find our true humanity. If you were here on Christmas Eve, you may remember that I quoted the theologian Walter Wink. He said this, "This is the revelation. God is human. It is the great error of humanity to believe that it is human. We are only fragmentarily human, fleetingly human, brokenly human. We see glimpses of our humanness, but we have not yet arrived at true humanness. Only God is human. And we are made in God's image and likeness, which is to say, we are capable of becoming human. We are capable of becoming human. We receive the gift of life from God, but we also receive a way of becoming fully human. This is part of what the letter to the Galatians is talking about when it says that we receive adoption as children of God. Not only does God give us life, but God plants her image in us, making us fully human. Our lives may fall apart, and our humanity may seem fragmented. But as God's adopted children, we receive the fullness of being human. We can know our full humanity when we practice compassion and mercy and justice and love. Our friend Jean Nandy died on Christmas Eve in the morning. The Friday before, I was able to see her at the hospital in Berkeley. Sarah was there. Lisa had been there earlier. Her niece was with her, and in and out of the room came various doctors and nurses. And Jean had on a breathing mask, a pressure mask that made a lot of noise, and she didn't like it, and you could tell. Because with Jean, you could always tell how she was feeling. And we said the words to her that you say to a person that you know is near death but not dying, that she was loved, and that there were people with her. And then, at the very end of our conversation, I said, Jean, I want you to remember the most important thing. Tomorrow is my birthday. And Jean lit up. Her eyes went wide. She smiled. She grabbed my hand strongly. Because in that moment, what mercy, compassion, and justice and love looked like was making Jean smile. When we forget how to be human, there are small things that we can do to regain and retain and hold on to our humanity. But most importantly, we can remember our humanity by imitating the example of Jesus. In him we witness the Creator stepping into the fullness of our experience, showing us how to be fully human, which is to live in love. And love is the theme of John's Gospel. At Jesus' birth, we celebrate God's love for everyone, everywhere. This love is what defines us as human beings, not our abilities or our achievements, not our sanctity or our cleverness, but God's love for us. While we are many things, our defining truth is that God's love shapes us. This love makes us and all people children of God. Our friend James Allison writes that our transformation in Christ is not about achieving, but about receiving. And in Jesus we see the blueprint of authentic humanity. And it's only by receiving the gifts he gives that we become fully human. And as the Legos are teaching me, when we try to operate from another instruction book, another logos, ending up with a scattered mess of ideas and efforts, wars and deprivations, hatreds and envies, we can return to the blueprint, returning to Jesus' way of love. And then we find our true humanity once again. Then we can see all human beings as holy, worthy not only of respect, but of love. And then we are living lives that are both human and divine. The good news of Christmas, the good news of every day, is that God has come into the world, and that we are called to follow the true and living word that gives light to our lives. And then we can share this light with everyone that we encounter, showing God's presence in the world here and now.